Okay, hi everybody. I hope that you guys are all doing well. I miss seeing you guys. um, hey, there were 3 questions that kind of came to the surface here with this worksheet 12.6C that some of you were wanting to see. So we'll take a look at these quickly. Again, as always, the assumption would be when you're doing these problems, you would have a completed unit circle in front of you. And so the pieces that you need to be comfortable with the unit circle is that when you are looking at a unit circle, that you recognize that the y coordinate is the sine value, that the x coordinate is the cosine value, and then of course tangents would be filled in already, but that we would have gotten those by taking the y coordinate divided by the x coordinate. Okay, the other piece you want to be comfortable with, and I'm just going to color code to make this easier, is the reciprocal trig functions to each of these. We know cosecant goes with sine, secant goes with cosine, and then obviously tangent and cotangent go together. Okay, so where you're going to start, problem number 2, is if they give you an angle that is not easily identifiable on the unit circle, like negative 600 degrees, you want to continue to add 360 as you see that I did here, until you fall on an angle that you can easily locate on the circle. Okay, one thing that I will just mention is some people are doing this part right here like on the calculator, and I don't need to see this plus 360, but I absolutely need you guys to show where you ended up on the circle. So I need you to write down, please, theta equals 120 degrees on your paper, so that I know that's where you were looking on the circle. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll down to the circle. Please keep in mind we're going to go to 120 degrees, and I'm going to look and see what the coordinate of that point is, because I know the y coordinate should be sine and the x coordinate should be cosine. So we're looking at 120 degrees here. Okay, so here we are. We're going to come over here to 120 degrees. I can see that the y coordinate is the square root of 3 over 2, so I'm going to use that as my sine value, and then negative 1/2, I'm going to use that as my cosine value. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to fill those 2 in. Okay, so we said square root of 3 over 2 was the y coordinate, and negative 1/2, that was the x coordinate. I'm going to flip back real quick and we're going to grab the tangent value at 120. Okay, so if you look back again at 120, we already have filled in that the tangent value is negative square root of 3. Okay, so I'm going to flip back, I'm going to fill that in, and if I have the 3 main trig functions filled in, it makes it pretty easy to kind of do the reciprocals. Now here's the other piece that I should mention to you. You're going to see this with sine. When you flip sine, and I'm going to do this off to the side because I can tell that when I flip it, I'm going to end up having a radical symbol in the denominator. Do not write this fraction on the blank here. Okay, do not write that. You have to get rid of that radical symbol in the denominator by multiplying it times itself. We do the same thing to the numerator. We end up getting 2 times square root of 3 over 3. That is what we want to place on the line for cosecant. Okay, now cosine, we don't have to mess with that, because if we flip negative 1/2, we can clearly see that we would get negative 2 over 1 or negative 2. However, with tangent, you'll notice that tangent doesn't exactly look like a fraction right now. Okay, but you can make any number look like a fraction if you put it over 1. Okay, so technically that's over 1. So if I were to do the reciprocal of tangent, now my radical 3 is in the denominator. Okay, you don't need to multiply by a negative radical 3, just a radical 3 is fine. Okay, the negative doesn't matter here. But now I'm going to have a radical 3 in the top, and in the bottom, you don't lose the negative. Okay, we want to keep the negative here in the denominator. But in the bottom, you're just going to have 3. Okay, so then that's going to make my answer negative square root of 3 over 3 for cotangent. Okay, once again, you are not allowed to cancel those 3's because one of them is under a radical and the other one is not. Okay, so that's number 2. I kind of got number 8 set up for us here in a similar fashion because it's a similar problem. Okay, negative 360 isn't exactly a number we have filled in on the circle, but if you were to add 360 to it, then you plainly see that the angle that we're really searching for here is 0 degrees. And once again, this is what I need you to write down kind of on your paper. Okay, I went ahead and just copied a unit circle so I didn't have to keep scrolling for you guys. Over here on the left, obviously I didn't fill the whole thing in, but I knew that this was going to have us look at 0 degrees. And so I just jotted down little parts of this unit circle, and right here's the part that we're going to focus on. I put the tangent value in green right there. Okay, so once again, I have labeled over here, remember sine is actually the y value and cosine is the x value. So I can see on the circle here that the sine value at 0 degrees is 0, the cosine value is 1, and the tangent value is 0. Now, none of these look like fractions, okay, but we know that if you took 0 and you made it look like a fraction, you would put it over 1. So if we were going to do the reciprocal of 0, the reciprocal of 0 becomes 1 divided by 0, therefore the answer is undefined. So anytime you do the reciprocal of 0, you get undefined. So that means I'm going to fill in down here that cotangent at 0 degrees would also be undefined. Okay. Now for cosine, if you made the number 1 look like a fraction, that is just 1 over 1. So if you do the reciprocal, you're still going to get 1 for secant of 0 degrees. Okay, so that was number 8. And then the last problem that people were wanting to see was number 14. Okay, number 14 starts out with, again, an angle that is not easily identifiable in the circle. So you should add 360 to it. And once again, very important that you are writing down on your paper 240 degrees. That's telling me that's where you're actually going on the circle. Okay, now this just wants the cosine value, and we know that the cosine value is the x coordinate right on the circle. So I'm going to scroll down to 240 degrees on the circle, and I'm interested in cosine, so I'm interested in just the x coordinate. We can see that that is negative 1/2. So I'm just going to fill in negative 1/2, and that's all I need to do on that problem. Okay, hope everybody's staying healthy. Let me know if you have any other questions.